Good morning. We've come up to Hendersonville this morning to Johnny Cash, the old Johnny Cash home, referred to as Nature's House. Builder Braxton Dixon designed the Cash home. Rugged beauty existed with open rafters, barn boards and a wall of native limestone. The 14,000 square foot home overlooked Old Hickory Lake with panoramic views and gardens that stretched across the property. Here Johnny and June Carter Cash entertained family, friends and neighbours for 35 years. The Cash home also served as a retreat for fellow musicians to gather and compose music with one another until the 2003 deaths of Johnny and June Carter Cash. Yes, it's they're building on there now. There's another house going there, but of course that would have been the Cash's view out on the Old Hickory Lake. Because there's nothing left of it now. It burned, there was a fire. It was completely destroyed, which is a shame. So from here we're just going to go up to the cemetery where Johnny and June are buried, and there's a few other people buried in that grave, in that cemetery. Country linked to country music, and also linked to Elvis, some more tenuously than others, but the link is there, so we'll go up and have a look. Yes, this is Henderson Memorial Gardens. We'll go up to Johnny and June Carter Cash in a moment, but as I said, there's a few other music related artists buried here in Hendersonville, and some of them have got a link to Elvis, so we'll have a little stroll around, see if we can find them. Peaceful garden in there.
Lovely though, isn't it? Really nice.
Here's the first one, Ferlin Husky, December 3rd, 25 to March 17th, 2011. He was a country singer, pretty big in the late 50s and early 60s. There's a couple of his big hits there, Gone and On the Wings of a Dove. He was on the Opry quite a bit after around that time. The link with there's a link with Ferlin Husky there. Ferlin Husky was on the bill at the Ellis Auditorium in Memphis on February 6th, 55, when Elvis and Colonel Parker first had their first business meeting. Elvis was lower down on the bill, and Ferlin Husky was on that bill, headlining with Farron Young. So we've come up from Ferlin Husky, just down by the roadside there. Just over there beyond this first hedge there, and the statue of Christ there, is Johnny Cash. But down by here is Luther Perkins, one of the Tennessee Two. Luther Perkins was Johnny Cash's guitarist on all the Sun records, and is when he moved to Columbia. Luther Perkins, 1928 to 1963, and it's got the Sun label on there, and his guitar. Yeah, so Luther, in the same cemetery here as his boss. Just this side is Sonny Osborne, October 29th, 1937 to October 24th, 2021. He was one half of the Osborne brothers. whose most famous record, they were Bluegrass, the two brothers and the interchangeable band members. They were a bluegrass group, and their biggest song was Rocky Top, the Boogaloo and Felice Bryant song. Of course, it's quite a famous song, although it wasn't a massive country hit for the Osborne brothers. I think they've had the original. I'm not sure if it was the biggest hit, but I know that I've got it by the Everly Brothers that recorded it since, for the Pass the Chicken and Listen album. But that's Sonny Osborne. Okay, Gene Shepherd is country singer here somewhere back up there, but I couldn't locate that one. But the area where it says where she is there's a lot of blank, well, just open pieces of grass, much like this here. And there's a couple of patches where the plates have been removed, so whether it's maybe some sort of maintenance or it just could be completely in the wrong place. Now down to graveside to Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash next to him there. Well, there's Johnny Cash, February 26, 1932 to September 12th, 2003. Just a few months after June, who died on May the 15th, 2003. Little bench behind with I Walk the Line, of course, one of Johnny Cash's biggest hits, and Wildwood Flower, which was the Carter family's one of the Carter family's famous songs. This Wildwood Flower, the Carter family, of course, would be relevant for Mother Maybelle Carter, buried here next to her husband Ezra Carter, who died in 1975. 1898 he was born in.
June's sister,
and there's, yeah, Anita Carter, June's sister. Died in 1999. I don't know if Helen is here, is she? I don't know if Helen's here. Merle Kilgore's here. Wrote Ring of Fire with June Carter. And obviously,
you've made the biggest deal of all.
And Earl Kilgore's also got a bench there with some of his songs. More and More, Johnny Reb, Wolverton Mountain, Ring of Fire, co-writer with June Carter Cash. Just over from Johnny Cash is Harold Bradley, January 2nd, 26 to January 31st, 2019. Most recorded guitarist in the world, loving husband, father and grandfather, proud veteran. Here with his wife. So Harold Bradley was Owen Bradley's brother, of the Owen Bradley's barn studio, along with Studio B, or the RC studio as it was at the time, were the two studios that more or less made Nashville Music City. And both studios had the best session musicians, and Harold Bradley was amongst that. And Harold Bradley played on several Elvis recordings, starting with the June 58 RC session while he was on leave from the army, and throughout the 60s, amongst the other amongst the other Nashville musicians that really defined the Nashville sound. That was Harold Bradley. I've come in the mausoleum here. There's two. Just wanted to point out here, Johnny Russell there, 1940-2001, country singer and songwriter. One of his most famous songs, perhaps, Be an Act Naturally, which Buck Owens recorded, and the Beatles actually recorded that one as well. And a very important one down here, Mae Boren Axton, 1914-97. Of course, Mae Boren Axton was along with Tommy Durden, was the co-writer of Heartbreak Hotel, Elvis's international breakthrough song. She presented Elvis with the demo in November '55 at the Country Music Disc Jockeys Convention in Nashville, and Elvis said he'd recorded at his first RCA session, although it hadn't yet been confirmed that he was actually signing with RCA. The contract was signed later that month, but he was true to his word, and it was the second song he recorded on January 10th, 1956. And another one I just noticed up here, Shelby F. Woolley, I think that's Sheb Woolley, who had novelty hits in the late 50s with Purple People Eater, I think. Yeah, just saw that one there. I think that's Sheb Woolley. And the last stop here at Hendersonville is for John Hughey, 1933-2007, loving husband, father, grandfather and musician loved by all. Pedal steel. Like Harold Bradley, another one that played on several Elvis sessions at Studio B, not as often as many of the other musicians, but John Hughey did back Elvis in the studio. Okay, we'll go from here. So this is Spring Hill Cemetery, just by Madison, just north of Nashville. So there's quite a few. We've been to Woodlawn Cemetery south of Nashville, where probably the most musicians and artists and songwriters and such like are buried, but this is Spring Hill. That's probably has the second most artists, country singers and such like, and again some of them have got some have a link with Elvis. I'll point out if they have. It could be a very tenuous link, but a link nonetheless. So the first one I'm trying to find here, is Jan Howard, country singer, who was the wife of Helen Howard, Should be in this general area, but I got these off the web, so they may not be very accurate as to where the grave is. I found Jan Howard. Here she is. Grand Ole Opry star. Jan Howard, March 13th, 29 to March 28th, 2020. The song My Son, if I remember correctly from the country music documentary, her son was killed in Vietnam. So that's Jan Howard. Okay, let's move on to the next one. There's a sign of Tennessee Odom's Tennessee Pride Country Sausage. In 1943, with a $1,000 loan, Douglas Granville Odom Sr. and his wife Louise converted a chicken house in Madison, Tennessee into a 4-hog-a-day meat grinding sausage business.
That's the logo.
Yeah.
I see.
So this is the Odom grave, and it's got the modern farm boy.
Modern farm boy.
Is the logo, the what do you call it, mascot? So I take it Odom's a famous brand in America, or at least in these parts anyway.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, we'll walk over here because we can see the next one from here. Earl Scruggs is just over here. It is Earl Eugene Scruggs, banjo picker extraordinaire. January 6th, 24 to March 28th, 2012. Loads of awards there. Compositions, probably the most famous ones are the Foggy Mountain Breakdown. So Flat and Scruggs, Earl Scruggs and Lester Flat were a duo, but they were initially both in Bill Monroe's band till they broke away as a double act, and then in the 60s Flat and Scruggs sort of went their separate ways as well. A few musical differences, so but here's Earl Scruggs. Oh no, that was the back of it. So apologies, because the front is a bit more ornate. Definitely more ornate than there's a. So they're doing some move-in works, whatever that relates to. So most influential, most imitated banjo player in the world. On December 8th, 45, he joined Bill Monroe's band and helped give birth to bluegrass music when he introduced his innovative and exciting three-finger style of playing five-string banjo on the Grand Ole Opry. I think you have to read all that yourself because of the noise. And there's Earl and his wife Louise, who's buried with him here. Country Music Hall of Fame in the top left in the Ryman Auditorium. Grand Ole Opry there on the right. So that's Earl Scruggs. So Roy Acuff should be just down by here somewhere. There it is, Acuff, it says on the back. Roy Acuff, possibly one of the biggest stars of the Grand Ole Opry, the first biggest stars. And his legacy, of course, is with the publishing company Acuff Rose, with Fred Rose. So this is the stone memorial there with his fiddle there. So we got Claude Acuff Senior there, Gladys Acuff there, Father Neil Acuff, Mother Ida Acuff, and there's Roy Claxton Acuff. Roy's big hits, perhaps the Great Speckled Bird, the Wabash Cannonball. And tenuous link with Elvis there, they were on the same bill. They were on the same bill for several possibly his son. But yeah, Roy Acuff was on the headline, the Grand Ole Opry tour, the late 55 that Elvis was on. One of those dates, specifically at the Montgomery Auditorium. And also on the bill that same day was Kitty Wells and Johnny Wright, and I think that's the next grave we're going to find, which should be just down by there on the left. So if you're looking for Roy Acuff's, you can come in on the entrance, and it's almost right opposite at the top of the drive there. Just across from Roy Acuff, here's Jimmy Martin. Shake hands with Mother and Daddy again, will the circle be unbroken. 95 inductee into the Bluegrass Hall of Honour. So he was a self-described poor boy from Sneedville, Tennessee, in references to his early years. Jimmy Martin was dubbed the king of bluegrass music during the 70s. Any full stops here? I can't see. A major force in defining and establishing the music's so-called high lonesome sound, he began as lead singer with the Bluegrass Boys in October '49, Bill Monroe's Bluegrass Boys. In '55 he formed his Sunny Mountain Boys and became a headline artist on the Hayride, Louisiana Hayride in Shreveport, and the WWVA Wheelin' Jamboree. So here's Wright for Johnny Wright and Kitty Wells. They were married. Oh, it's got Kitty's name on the guitar there. And Johnny Wright. Johnny Wright was the part of the double act, Johnny and Jack. And both those and Kitty Wells were included on that late '55 Grand Ole Opry tour with Elvis, headlining over Elvis. Of course, Kitty Wells was the first female country singer to have a country #1 record. It wasn't God who made Honky Tonk Angels. And another little link with I'm interested with Kitty Wells is she recorded Don Everly of the Everly Brothers, his first songwriting hit. It was a top 20 country hit in 1954, Thou Shalt Not Steal, that he wrote and Kitty Wells recorded and had a hit with. And no doubt the funds from that helped the Everlys stay in Nashville a bit longer while they were trying to make it, basically. So that's Kitty Wells and Johnny Wright. Here's the next one, Billy Walker. I was looking in the wrong place for Billy. Billy and his wife Betty. Billy born January 14th, 1929. Betty June 10th, 1944. They both died in a minibus. They were out on tour and Billy was driving the minibus and went off the road, and there was a couple of them died, obviously Billy and Betty. I think his grandson was in the vehicle as well, but he survived, thankfully. But this is Billy Walker. He had several country hits off and on through the sort of late 50s, 60s and early 70s, and never perhaps a major country star, but he did have his own country TV show in the 60s. And of course Billy Walker was actually on the bill on Elvis's first ever paid live performance at the Overton Shell in Memphis on July 30th, 1954. Slim Whitman was the headliner, but Billy Walker was also on that bill, and subsequently he was on a few concerts with Elvis while Elvis was with Sun Records in the latter 54 and into 55. So that's Billy Walker, and right next door, just about next door actually, is Pete Drake. Pete Drake is a Nashville musician, steel guitar, pedal steel. October 8th, 1932 to July 29th, 1988. Pete Drake, again, Elvis link, was on several Elvis sessions through the 60s and played just on some of the biggest 60s country hits. He was also on Bob Dylan's albums. I will sing a new song unto thee, O God, upon an instrument of 10 strings will I sing praises unto thee. Psalm 1449. So the next one we've come across is Rhodes, Speck Rhodes, real name Gilbert. July 16th, 1915 to March 19th, 2000. Speck Rhodes was in Porter Wagoner's Wagon Masters, and you can see Speck on YouTube, old Porter Wagoner's old TV shows through the 60s. He played the upright, the stand-up bass, and he was the sort of comic relief, and he'd have a phone call in every episode there, where he would carry on a humorous one-sided conversation, and tenuous again. But Speck Rhodes would have been with Porter Wagoner on a couple of Elvis tours in 55. So I never knew who Speck Rhodes was, to be honest, till I saw the Porter Wagoner shows on YouTube, and so as we were here, I thought we'd come and find this one. So here lies old Speck. Here's Keith Whitley's Grave of the Angel Crying. They've covered something up.
was born in 1954.
Oh right, yeah. There's Laurie Morgan there, 1959. This obviously she's still alive. There was Keith Whitley's widow. She's a country music star as well.
Julie Keith, with a 1955.
1989.
1954.
1989 he died. Alcohol poisoning.
But nothing's been.
But his star shone bright for that period in the late 80s. He was bluegrassing. He was part of Ralph Stanley's band with back in the early day with what's his name? Ricky Skaggs.
Oh yes.
With Ricky Skaggs, and he was very much in the neo-traditional movement of country music. Did a lot to bring that country style back, and had several number ones in the late 80s, but obviously mental pressures just were too much for him, unfortunately. Is the next one Bobby Hebb, Robert Alvin von Hebb, July 26, 1938 to August 3rd, 2010. Beloved father, brother, uncle, friend, musician and songwriter. Bobby Hebb sang the 1960s song Sonny. Yesterday my life was filled with pain. So I couldn't see this from the road. I could see the musical note and just took a punt that this could be it, and yes it is. So there's Bobby Hebb. Found the next one by this little gazebo here, John Hartford, 1937 to 2001, Ever Gentle on Our Minds, because that was perhaps his most famous song, Gentle on My Mind, which was a big hit for Glenn Campbell and Dean Martin actually, but of course from my perspective Elvis included Gentle on My Mind on his From Elvis in Memphis album that he recorded at the American Sound Studio in Memphis in January and February of '69. So John Hartford, he was obviously, as you can see there, violinist, fiddle player, and a successful songwriter. And here's Floyd Cramer, like Pete Drake and Harold Bradley, a Nashville session man, played piano. He played piano with Elvis in the Louisiana Hayride in '55 for a while, and then he played on many sessions at the Studio B with Elvis, and he also had a few solo hits on his own, instrumental piano tunes, Last Date and On the Rebound. In fact, On the Rebound's a number one in the UK. I'm not sure if Last Date was number one or number two in the US, but Floyd Cramer, again, like the others, thousands of country songs. Floyd Cramer was probably, you can probably hear Floyd Cramer's piano on. So he's buried here. Died December 31st, 1997. Okay, I think we're going to wrap it up here on our trip to Nashville. Off to the Opry again tonight, with the Warren Treaty, the headline act tonight. So after that, tomorrow we're heading off towards the Smoky Mountains. So just come across from quick stop here, across from Spring Hill Cemetery into the National Cemetery across the road here, all the Army veterans. Just stop it quickly, this one. Virgil Wilburn, Corporal, US Army, Korea, July 7th 1930 to October 16th 1982. That's Doyle Wilburn, one half of the Wilburn brothers. I thought Doyle and Teddy were next to each other, but they're not, which would obviously make sense actually, because they died several years apart, so I'm not sure where Teddy is now, so I won't go looking for that. But yeah, Wilburn brothers, they had their own TV show in the 60s, a country music TV show, and they were instrumental in Loretta Lynn's career, publishing a lot of her as the publisher, sorry, of a lot of her songs, and she was the guest on every show of the Wilburn brothers through the 60s and early 70s. And again, a tenuous link with Elvis was the Wilburn brothers. Were on several dates, several concerts and gigs with Elvis in '55. Perhaps most significantly on the February 6th, 1955 Ellis Auditorium show in Memphis, which was the day that Elvis went across to Palumbo Cafe across the road with Bob Neal, his manager, and Sam Phillips, Sun Records owner, to meet Colonel Tom Parker and his assistant Tom Diskin. And that was the start of the relationship with Colonel Tom Parker for Elvis. But the Wilburn brothers were on that show, and the Wilburn brothers were also on the Grand Ole Opry show on December 21st 1957 that Elvis attended. He had gone to Madison, just up the way actually from here. Madison, Colonel Tom Parker's old office. It's literally about a quarter of a mile up the road there, or it was up there. He'd gone there. He'd received his draft the day before on the 20th. He'd come to Nashville on the 21st to give Colonel Tom Parker his Christmas present, and the Jordanaires had dropped in for their Christmas bonuses to Tom Parker's office, and they were appearing on the Opry that night. So Elvis said he'd like to go, but he didn't have anything to wear, so he hired a tuxedo of all things to wear to the Opry show. And there's pictures with the Wilburn brothers who were on the show that night, as was Ferlin Husky and Farron Young. Ferlin Husky's grave we visited earlier at Henderson Memorial. Yeah, so there's Doyle Wilburn of the Wilburn brothers. So now we'll wrap it up.